Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Scene Snobs Podcast. I appreciate you joining in. Thank you if you're watching live or just watching later. If you're listening, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the downloads. Please leave us some love. Give us a follow. Give us a like wherever. Ratings, reviews, they all really help. If you're watching us on YouTube, we have lots of great shows, so make sure to hit subscribe and hit that like button because we really appreciate it. Guys, we got a great show tonight, and I have so much to cover, so much to talk about. And we have great guests. Now, these are three guys who have been running a podcast game for a long time. They do it quite literally, probably the best. I love the Candera podcast, and we're going to bring these guys on in just a little bit. We're getting started, so please feel free to join in the comments. We got a lot of fun topics to talk about. What we're going to be talking about with the Candera guys tonight is lessons we've learned from sitcoms from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Everybody had a very special episode. And there's plenty of lessons to be learned, whether good or bad, and we'll get into it. And then after that, we're going to do another Ask Me Anything. We're going to talk about some stuff. You got stuff you want to talk about with podcasting. You want to talk about with movies and the movie industry. What's going on with the writer's strike? What's going on with anything, really? That's as long as it's within my purview. We will get into it. Feel free to ask me. If you just want to know what my favorite color is, go for it. Then I have another Did I Fix It? Comes from Dan the Man, Master Shake. Gave us a great movie recommendation in Cocktail from 1988. And I'm going to try and fix it if I can. Let me know what you think. I want to sound off and we'll go by it. All right. But I really want to get into this real quick before I bring the Candera guys in. We have a strike. The writer strike. WGA went on strike as of midnight last night. If you guys don't know what that is, it's Writers Guild of America. And it's a very important thing that's happening right now. It's monumental for the writers in the industry to fight for their rights, to fight for what they're looking for. A lot of people I've seen in support of them, standing with them, and I think that's great. I remember what it was like the last time they struck, it was 15, 17 years ago. And that was a tough time in the movie industry. If you worked in the industry, it hit you hard. Jobs were very scarce. I was living out in LA at the time. It was kind of kicking my butt a lot, just kind of had to take what I could get. And a lot of it was independent. That's why I have such an affinity for independent films, not just watching them, but working on them, because they really saved my hide to help me pay my rent back in the day, especially when this is going on. Do I blame the writers in any way, shape, or form? Absolutely not. I think we have a stigma in this country where somebody goes on strike, we tend to complain. I don't know where that comes from. Why are we, and there's a lot of good people out there who support. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen a lot today, especially a lot of surprising indie filmmakers that I know coming out and kind of not bashing the strike, but joking it off a lot. Man, that's not cool. These guys and gals are just trying to survive. They're trying to get what is owed to them in an ever-changing world where we have streaming services coming into more of the foray, and the studios don't want to give up much when it comes to that. They just want to get paid more. They want not just that, but they have a lot more in their demands, and it's not much, really. It's really not asking a lot. They're not gouging anyone. But what happens is, of course, when it comes to all these negotiations, one side comes with demands, the other side, which would be the studios, will come back with counters, and they'll keep going back and forth till they can come to a resolution. I'm not trying to mansplain that in any way, shape, or form, but a lot of people don't fully understand it, and that's why I'm trying to say it. So that's for them, not for you, if you understand. But listen, condescension aside, I'm just kidding. There's a lot going on in this, and it can be a scary time, especially for people who are working in the industry. A lot of you sitting at home, you're going to be missing out on a lot of shows. A lot of things are going to go away. Right now, we know all the talk shows are taking a break, except for The View, of course. I guess they're just going to wing it, but whatever. But a lot of shows are taking an indefinite hiatus from putting on new shows. One of them being SNL or The Tonight Show, The Late Show, all that stuff. It's all going to be going away for a little while this is getting resolved, and hopefully it can come to a quick resolve. Because it's the people you don't see, the below the line crew, who are the ones out there really suffering. They're the ones that really depend on paying these bills. Having to go in, they've worked their butts off to get up to the top, and of their field and in their positions, and now they have to go looking for work. I will tell you this. Back in the day, the last one, you might see more people. Let's just put it this way. The porn industry is going to start looking really nice soon. And that generally happens when you get a strike like this, whether it be a writer strike or an actor strike, something like that. You got a lot of filmmakers who have to make their money, so they go about it in any way they can. I stand with you guys, WGA. Many friends who are in it, so please, I hope, studios, come on, you got to resolve this. Help them out. What is going on here? I don't understand how in this time of streaming and how dominant it is, especially coming off of a pandemic, you could allow this to happen and go to a strike. Knock it off. Let's get some resolution here. Let's get them paid. Let's get them back out there. Let's get things running and thriving, because movie theaters are going to suffer again. If this goes for a long time, especially TV series are going to suffer and fall. Do you remember how bad Lost was after the last writer strike? I don't think you do, but ask your parents. They'll know. So we're getting into it. That's a whole bunch of stuff actually happening. I hope you guys will read up on it, check out their demands, because it's really not unfair. So, and I just wanted to show my support. If you have any questions for it, we could talk about it when we get to the AMA portion. I'm happy to answer anything, but I just want to kind of intro and talk about that a little bit, because this is an important thing going on right now. In other news, last night, while the writers were, scarily, I'm sure, waiting the impending doom of having to strike and not work and not get paid, our elite celebrities were at the Met Gala. I wanted to pull up some fun pictures I saw, because clearly, if you didn't know, the celebrity elites live in the Dune world for some reason. I'm sorry. Is this not the French aristocracy back again? I'm sure I said that wrong. I don't care. They're assholes. Look at this. Doja Cat's dressed like a cat. Great. Another Doctor Who villain ready to play. This is some ridiculous stuff. Listen, I like Jenna Ortega. I like Wednesday enough as it is, but come on. You really need to be goth all the time? I do like those shoes, though. Very cool. You have so many weird outfits here. This whole thing screams, let them eat cake. It really does. And the impending doom of a recession on top of this, with the debt ceiling coming up in June. If you don't know that, go look it up. We have all of these celebrities out at the Met Gala for another year of just looking weird. Weird. Who wears this stuff? Why is this like the pinnacle of fashion? I realize we're staring at Pedro Pascal's legs, and I'm sure some of you are perfectly fine with that. But what is this stuff? I don't fully understand it. How is this the fashion that stands out? Who wears this? Where do we go with this? It's just a show, and I get it. And I'm okay with the dog and pony show, which is exactly what this is, but it's starting to become tiresome. It really is, especially with everything going on. It's just, I see things like this, and I'm like, this just seems like bad taste. The people who are putting together your stories, the people who are putting together your the movies that are making you famous and things like that, are they're struggling to be heard and get paid a fair wage in their industry. And this is just out there blowing money in stupid costumes. Look, oh my God. He looks like a trash bag matador. Come on, Diddy. Get it together. Beetlejuice's wife is there. And Anne Hathaway doing her best impersonation of the Devil Wears Prada. Guys, I see this stuff. It drives me crazy. I just don't understand it. We got a lot of comments. Before I bring everybody in, let's see what everybody's saying. John Wass is here. What's up, buddy? How you doing, pal? Chris, what's up, Mick? Snobs Nation, how you doing? Thanks for joining in, guys. I appreciate it. Writers are sadly undervalued. Very, very. And even what they're asking for now is not much compared to what they were asking for the last time they had a strike. That's kind of where I was going with it, Stirred. Hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, AJ? Good to see you. And Chris, give them chocolate pie. Yeah, we'll get there. All right, guys. I want to get out of this a little bit. Again, if you want to talk about it in the AMA later, we can. But let's talk about sitcoms, shall we? I'm going to bring in my guests. These guys are great guys. If you haven't checked out their show, they do some great interviews, things like that. So definitely. And they're all wearing normal clothes when they do. These celebrities are all wearing the normal clothes, not this Met Gala stuff. So, although I would talk to them too. I'm picking on them, of course. I have Jack, Jeremy, and Randy here from the Canned Air podcast. What is up, gentlemen?
Mick, how are you, sir?
What's up?
I'm doing well. Let me take this off. I don't want to block anybody. So there you go. How are you guys? Thanks for joining in tonight.
Well, thanks for having us, man. This has been a long time coming, huh?
Oh man, I'm so excited. I really am. You guys are awesome. Last time we were on your show. Oh, I'm not awesome. Get out of here.
Come on.
I gotta tell you guys, last time we were on your show, we talked about mullets for quite a long time.
Well, we talked about mullets on multiple episodes of our show, Nick. Let's not forget.
That's still popping up here and there too.
It was a great topic of conversation, and I didn't realize how much we could get a squeeze every last drop from that conversation.
Bottomless well, the mullet is, right?
It really is. And I don't know, at one point I saw one. It was on TV somewhere. I don't remember who it was. And I was like, you know what? I'm coming around on it. And then I had to lock myself in a closet, and I had to pull a Paul Bettany from the Da Vinci Code and just start hitting myself in the back. Like, get out of here.
And then you realized it was a man bun, so it's all good.
Fair. So, guys, welcome to the show. Before we get started, I want you guys to take some time. Tell us what the Canned Air podcast is for maybe some people who haven't seen it or heard of it, and let's talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Again, we are the Canned Air podcast. We've been doing this since 2013, so we're about to hit our 10-year anniversary. That's very exciting. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 10 years, but damn, here we are. Yeah. But we just we like to laugh, talk about things you may have forgotten, very much like kind of what we're doing here today, kind of. And I don't know, we like to get cool guests on to talk, voice actors, producers, screen actors, just anybody that might interest you. We try to get on the show and pick their brain with them, hang out. We have a good time doing this. What am I forgetting, guys?
Just all the wacky shit we get into. I mean,
well, don't oversell it. But we can be wacky, as Randy said, I guess. But check us out at cannedairpodcast.com, Twitter at cannedairpod. Though I gotta say, our Twitter is slowly dying. With all the changes
Twitter
to Twitter
altogether.
It's just kind of become something I don't check in with as much as I probably should. But Instagram at canned_air. You can find out more about us, keep up with the show and find out what we're doing. And all of our funny little quippy memes. We're on TikTok too, right? There, Randy?
We are. I got to post some shit. I'm a little behind on it. So,
well, I actually have to give you a lot of credit to tonight's topic, Randy.
Oh God.
It is your TikToks and your Instagram reels that really got me thinking about it. And I'm like, all right, let's pick out a good topic for these guys because they know their stuff. And I was watching some of your reels and I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about some very special episodes.
Hot dog.
I saw you, Randy, and I thought about the Bicycle Man episode of Different Shit. Don't know why. I picked on poor Randy, but he is a great guy.
We all pick on him because he's a
great target.
Guy, not target guy.
Yeah, never any danger of me having any type of self-esteem when I talk to you guys.
You absolutely should. You're the best of us all.
Waiting for it.
Both your co-hosts immediately were just like, well, you can hold on to that one.
We'll let him have it. We'll give that one to him.
They immediately went on strike as soon as I said that.
Why'd everybody leave? What the hell?
Well, I thought it'd be fun to do this one more conversational than like listing things off. But I mean, I know we've all kind of come with some lists to talk about, but let's really get into it. First off, let's talk about sitcoms of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're not built anymore like this.
No, they're not.
No.
Certainly not.
The absurdity of sitcoms back then.
Oh, yeah.
Was just insane. Not even just the special episodes. Just the absurdity.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, as I'm going on and I started like doing some more research as we were going and things like that, it became this thing that was just like, I didn't realize just how in depth so many sitcoms went on this topic.
Yeah, you mean on the special episode?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? There was a lot that came to mind immediately, but then I was like, I'm still going to Google this to see what's out there, and there were so many things, including Arnold and the Bike Shop, that I'd forgotten about. But and some I wasn't even aware of.
Yep. Well, let's talk about some. So what are some that really stuck out to you before we get into all our lessons learned? What are some that really like resonated with you and maybe helped you make decisions growing up?
Shoot.
I mean, shit. I always learned, if you're bullied on the playground, just make a time machine that turns you into Bruce Lee and kick some ass. But
There you go.
God. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
What is that from?
Stefan and a stupid tank.
Yep.
Family Matters.
Family Matters.
Oh yeah.
This wonderful show. When they introduced that stupid tank that they would go into, and listen, people, I'm not talking about an awesome tank rolling through. I'm talking about just this big room, this little porta potty.
Yeah.
Steve went in, and he came out, and he must have shit something out because it was cool afterwards. God. Oh,
I guess
that must have been late episodes because I don't remember any of that at all.
I'm pretty sure it was like season 3 they introduced that.
I must have fell off the wagon early then.
There were all kinds of. You're still talking about Family Matters, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were all kinds of Urkel gimmicks. I mean, obviously, again, you guys already mentioned Stefan, but then remember when he made Urkelbot? There was like a replica of himself.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I want a freaking Urkelbot. Like, how cool it would be.
Do you guys remember the smart car he used to drive before like smart cars were a thing? And then
I remember that.
Yeah.
One
the
episode,
front of it opened up.
Yeah. And then he turned it into a drag racer in like one episode.
Of course he did.
And it was just all it was like you open the front, like it was just a box. Again, another box, this guy. And you open up the door like it was like there was no hood or anything. It just opened forward. And then you just sat in the front seats and closed the door.
Right. Yeah.
It's like sitting in a refrigerator or a deep freeze or something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank God the car wasn't real. Or was it?
I don't know. I always figured it to be like a European car that I've just never seen, but I don't know. Is that a real car? There has to be a car out there that opens.
It is real because I remember seeing someone somewhere, and then I remember seeing that episode, and I was like, "Whoa, it's one of those cars."
Okay, yeah.
Car.
Hey, it's a Saiyan space pod. Oh no, just kidding.
Yeah, really. That's what it looks like.
That is a car I would see on the road, and somebody would be like, "I have the Urkel car," and I would just kick the fender in because I don't care about the vandalism charges. That's just ridiculous.
That one reminds me of the Simpsons episode where the big tall guy was in the small car. Nelson laughed at him, and he got out, and he was actually huge. He's like, "It's not my fault I'm driving this small car."
Pulled down his pants and made him walk the rest of the way. Oh my God, that's amazing. So guys, let's get into it a little bit. We talked about Urkel, and I love that the Bruce Lee. Well, I don't love it, but I loved you mentioning it, Randy. I appreciate you.
I had to throw that tidbit in there before I got to my actual one. So
I know for me, and I'm going to start with a bad one. A bad lesson I learned from sitcoms. And this is Boy Meets World, because we were in the same grade growing up. And then all of a sudden, like the very next season, like we were in the same grade the whole time. And then they went into college. And it was just like, what?
Just left you behind.
I'm going into senior year. I'm like, you just skipped. You skipped right to it or something. It was weird. But they taught me, I remember I had to bring a progress report home one Friday. And I get it signed by my parents, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm freaking out. It was not a good one.
Sure. You're not worried if it's good.
They didn't hand you one, so if it was good, yeah.
Right.
So they handed it to me. My teacher handed it to me. He's like, you got to get the sign and bring it back. I was like, damn it. And I watched Boy Meets World that night, and they got a progress report. And they had to get it signed. And Sean showed him how to do it, like how to unsteam the envelope, so you could do it. And then like all that. And like, it was just a whole episode. And I did it. And I had my brother sign it because he could do it. And my brother was he's like sitting there, and he's only a couple of years older than me. And he's just like this. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing it the whole time. I'm like, you're doing it. I need this done. And I don't think my parents ever found out until now.
Well,
wow, you are smooth
and grounded.
They won't watch this.
Dude, you should have done like on the Cosby Show and done like the handwriting. I think it was the Cosby Show where they were trying to get like hey, I can read your future by doing your handwriting or something like that.
Yes, that's
I think
right.
that was Cosby.
Oh, what was it? He had all the papers, right?
Yeah.
No, that was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Was that Fresh Prince?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Carlton walks in and goes, "Oh, Will, are you still trying to get them to sign that progress report for that?"
Oh, yeah.
And like he gets caught, and like everyone collectively was like, "I want to punch him right in the face." Real snitch. I just want to punch him. There was I mean, we got to speak. Let's talk about some of the more famous ones.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, I think we have Jesse on drugs and Saved by the Bell.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I was just gonna bring up that one. Didn't Zach do drugs too for a little bit? He was doing speed or something like that, wasn't he?
She was doing speed.
She was doing the speed.
Oh, was
he
it?
saved
I thought
her.
he did. Okay.
I just can't. I'm so scared.
Yeah, she was like overly concerned with her grades and being a good student that she was taking speed. I don't know.
I will pass this. Like, no, they had. God, Saved by the Bell was just the worst at everything. Great, but the worst. So Jessie had finals or something going on, and she needed to pass to get to Stanford. Or
oh, okay.
With something else they called that school Stamford or something like that. I don't know. It's stupid. Stansbury is what they call it.
Okay.
God forbid you call it Stanford.
Doesn't even sound like a college.
No.
Somebody just binged Saved by the Bell, it sounds like.
Sounds like some kind of breakfast cereal. Oh, and some Stansbury.
Hey, listen, she grew up to become the principal of that very high school. So Stansbury did her well, I guess.
You know what else?
Nobody remembers the reboot.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
No.
we know.
Yeah, okay.
After on her way to Stansbury, she went to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was angling toward.
That poor woman really had no career after Saved by the Bell.
No.
No, she had no career after Showgirls. That's what really just
killed it from there. Yeah. We'll give her one more
Yeah.
try. Let's put her in Showgirls. No.
Damn. It's not her fault.
No.
It's not
no. No.
Jerry's like, no, it's kind of her fault.
But I'm still glad she was in it for very obvious reasons.
Right.
That's all I'll say.
Fair. Very fair. Well, I will tell you, Randy, I know you are big on the old school shows. I see your commercials. You're popping up all the time. They're great. They're very nostalgic trip. I feel like a kid again. What is some things you've learned from very special episodes?
Oh, you're gonna make me go first? All right.
Yes, I am.
I've kind of got a two-parter, but my kind of not so big one is there's a British sitcom I used to watch a lot called Are You Being Served? Which
yes.
you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's fucking amazing. It's basically, it takes place in a department store. And the thing that always just kind of struck me, and it wasn't just one episode or one, theme or whatever. It's just like how all these different people that are just totally off the wall, completely different walks of life in the freaking 80s could totally get along and just get through the working day by not killing each other. So.
Okay. I've never heard of it. I'm trying to picture it in my head.
Oh, well, I'm off to a good start. Okay, so
I've learned nothing from that. You've taken everything away from the show.
Well, so glad I could be a part of this. My other one though.
Department stores have lots of people to work with. That's what we've learned.
Lesson learned.
Very simple episode of
in
Mrs.
the
Mabel.
UK.
Hey, my Marvel book helped me with that. All right, so shut up. So no, my bigger one, or my actual one, is from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because I was a 90s kid, so like that was my jam. And you see it played a lot now on like social media, which is the pool hustle with Uncle Phil. So for those of you guys remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah,
the pool hustle, no.
So Will gets in with a loan shark, and he totally gets hustled and ends up losing like the family car or something. So Uncle Phil comes in and totally plays dumb, like right off the rip, loses a bunch. And he's like, well, I think I'm getting this. I think I'm getting this. Let's play again. And the guy ups the ante to like $100 a ball or something like that. And Uncle Phil just on a dime is like, Jeffrey, break out Lucille, and he just destroys this loan shark. But kind of what I took from that is always stay humble because there's always somebody with a better hustle out there that will put you in your place if you don't.
I had a very different lesson from that one. hustling pool helped me pay for things way back when. Randy and I are both watching the same one as 90s kids, and Randy's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay humble, and Mick is just like, I'm gonna
make some money.
Much money as I can.
Randy's like, I suck at pool. I'm not gonna hustle anyone because I'll get my ass handed to me. That's what I would have come.
Oh, be nice. Randy's a great pool player.
I haven't played pool in years, but I love playing pool. I get my ass kicked, but I still enjoy it.
Same here.
Or do you really? Or are you going to break out Lucille in the end?
No, I guess there's only one way to find out, Mick, how much money you got on you.
Oh, no, my pool days are over. You'll win every day. I might as well just give you the money. Here you go.
I like that deal.
See, that sounds like a trap. That sounds like bullshit right there.
Setting himself up as a ringer. Look at him.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
So, Jack, let's go to you next.
All right.
What's something you've learned from a sitcom in the 70s, 80s, or 90s?
One
now,
episode.
Is this
What?
color or is this before color, Jack?
No, you might not even know this show. So,
Lucy, I love Lucy. One time
back and listen. An episode of Growing Pains.
I know that
Taught
show.
me
I was
a
hoping
lot
somebody would bring this up
about prejudice and racism. When
because Kirk Cameron is so prejudiced and racist, right?
No, he wasn't. Dick Van Patten actually was, which was kind of weird to see in that episode because
he was such a dad's dad back then.
Yeah. Yep.
Now nobody knows who the hell he is, but like back then, it is enough.
I know the name. I can't remember who he is / was.
He was the king in Spaceballs.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But Mike Seaver got a job working at a convenience store, and it was the graveyard shift, and his parents didn't like it because it was dangerous. And so the manager, which was Dick Van Patten, changed his schedule so he'd work in the daytime, and Raj, the Middle Eastern guy that worked in the daytime, was going to be the new graveyard guy. Well, no one thought anything of it until I think somebody said something about the manager being racist or something like that. And Kirk Cameron was like, no, he's fine. And he ended up doing something in the store that the manager caught and was like, Mike, did you do this? And he was like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, don't worry about it. But then the manager found out that it was actually Raj that did it, and he was ready to fire him. So then he came back home one night. The parents are talking to him, and he tells them all about it. And they start getting kind of upset because of the racistness going on and the prejudice about it. Yeah. And it was really kind of cool because the dad was just like, oh, he's being prejudiced. This isn't cool. Blah, blah, blah. You should talk to him. And the mom was like, well, I don't want him working, graveyard. I don't want him getting shot. So it was kind of like a double-edged sword that they were kind of battling about.
That's a really good one. And that's a cool one to kind of get into with thinking about it from the perspective of parents.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like back then, you're like, what? You're going to just let them deal with the racist? That's what you're going to do? And then now as parents, you're like, yeah, no, that's messed up. Make them quit. I mean, that's probably the best bet. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, I don't want my kid being in danger. Like, how do you work that? They got heavy back in the day, man.
They did really too. And that episode was the first time that I ever heard the word ass on primetime TV because Dick Van Patten was like, you're a wise ass. And I was like, oh.
I didn't know that.
Oh, so this is an adult show.
Yeah. I can't even say that word.
Mom, I learned a new word.
It's if I can piggyback on Jack's pick right there, because my pick kind of is the same thing, but a different show. Do you guys remember, of course you remember the Cosby Show. Do you remember the spinoff to the Cosby Show called A Different World?
Oh yeah. Great show.
Yeah, it was a good show. And there was an episode where I can't even remember their names. I remember, was it Dwayne Wayne with the flip up glasses? Like I wanted those glasses so bad when I was a kid.
We all did.
Oh, I thought he was cool as shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
What was his butt? Was it like Ron? I think I can't remember,
was
but
something
Ron, yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
Ron
yeah.
was his buddy.
okay. Well, they were at like a football game or something and made a bet with these like fraternity jocks, and they lost. And toward the end of the episode, they're going back to their car in the parking lot, and these guys were bitter about losing and had spray painted across the hood of his car the N-word.
Oof.
And boy, a different time. Let me tell you what. You could, yeah, that shit wouldn't really happen today, would it? But you know, I didn't know what it meant. I was very young. I had never heard it before. I could tell, you know, by the listening to the show and hearing the audience's reaction, seeing the character's reaction. I had to turn to mom, and be like, "What is happening? What's that word mean?" You know, and then she just like laid it out on me. You know, what racism is, what that word means, and how it affects people and stuff. It was like, you know, and that came from that show. It's crazy how these things. I don't know. I guess this is the very point of what we're here talking about. Very important lessons we've learned.
You know what? That's actually a great to get to the more serious side of it with that. Because we can joke all day about you know, a lot of different very special episodes like Jesse.
Oh, I've got some joke ones too.
Oh, we'll get there. But I want to add to this because if you remember Family Matters, that one episode where Laura was dealing with bullies, and they spray painted that on the N-word on her locker.
Yeah.
And like having to deal with that. And then they did another that show had so many. And they did it at a time where like you weren't seeing it when Eddie gets roughed up by the police officers because he was in the wrong neighborhood, as they said.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And it was like so much that you're hearing about. And you know, my dad was a cop, and that was like one of those things where it's like, what is this? What's going on? And that's where they have to. I kind of liked those times having those special episodes because I feel like I did learn a lot about racism, about things like, because they're always being called into question by your favorite shows.
Yeah.
And what's going on. And you're learning. You didn't know anything. You're a kid. You're going to turn around. Randy and I were just, you know, sitting there while Jack was already had a job at the warehouse. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jack. I had to piggyback if you don't mind.
That's fun.
Jack's like, turn this shit off. Cheers is on.
Son of a bitch. I'm out of here.
Speaking of, hey, I love Cheers. Speaking of lessons that Family Guy has taught, Family Guy, Jesus, Family Matters.
I don't know if
Excuse
I
me.
learned anything from him.
I've learned that Columbus, Ohio is not a vacation destination from Family Guy. I'll say that.
Oh, we
Only
trash, Brian.
yes, we are.
But Family Matters and Happy Days taught me that if you are a middle child who seemingly doesn't have much going on in the family dynamic, and one day your parent says, "Why don't you run upstairs and get something?" Don't do it, because you will never come back. You'll never come back.
That's very true. There's so many shows that we can talk about in that instance.
Robert Stack, we've got an unsolved mystery. We got to.
Yeah.
Judy's
Where'd they go?
missing.
Where'd they
Judy
go?
went off and did porn. Remember those rumors? Oh.
Were they rumors? I thought there was some truth to that. I felt like I investigated that before. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I think
There
we
might have
had,
been.
or we looked into it or something like that.
Whatever the case was, it didn't put a smile on your face. It was kind of like, oh, poor girl. But I could be wrong. I feel like that was the case, though. It's been a long time ago.
No, it wasn't Judy. It was Stephanie from Full House.
Did she do porn? No, she got into meth.
No, she didn't do porn. She did drugs.
Nah.
But she's off them now. She's clean and
she had to
doing
for
good.
Fuller House.
Yeah, that's why she quit? I thought she quit for the kids, but I don't know.
Well, there's an agreement. There was actually an agreement on Full House that only one person from the cast could be a degenerate. So when she gave it up, Aunt Becky had to go and become the degenerate on that very special episode of I Paid for Nikki and Alex to get to college. You're not really on the crew team.
Aunt Lori, what was her
Becky.
name? Becky. Aunt Becky.
Lori Loughlin, yeah.
Lori Loughlin, thank you.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, I crushed on her hard when I was a kid. Like, she was gorgeous. I mean, she still is, but you know, now she's a felon, so
I'm okay with it.
okay.
I'm on me. I'll go up to the attic if Jesse wants to stay downstairs. No problem.
There you go.
One thing I remember a lot in the very special episodes, and I specifically remember Walker did an episode, but like Mr. Belvedere did a big one, was kids with AIDS.
Oh my God. I remember the Walker one. Haley
Walker
Joel
had
Osment.
AIDS.
Yeah.
But there was a Mr. Belvedere episode where they had a friend and he was born with AIDS due to a blood, or no, it wasn't born, but like as a baby, he got a blood transfusion.
Oh, okay.
And he had gotten AIDS from it. And so like everybody, I remember every parent is like freaking out, pulling their kids out, like protesting that this kid needs to be booted. And like Mr. Belvedere to the rescue. No, that's not what AIDS is. Let's talk about it. He did more for AIDS than I think the entirety of the 8 years of Ronald Reagan's presidency.
Wow. That's probably true. Certainly more than Walker had to do for it.
Now, speaking of Ronald Reagan, though, which do you guys think had more of an impact on kids like not doing drugs? Was it the sitcoms, or was it when all our favorite cartoon characters got together and told us that drugs are bad?
I think it was when Nancy Reagan showed up on Different Strokes and was like, just say no.
Yeah. Damn, wasn't she annoying?
There's so many. No, that was a very special episode. You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
Why don't you, for anybody who doesn't know, why don't you explain, Randy? Because you're the man at this. You know all this stuff from the 90s and 80s.
I'm not the man, but I can't even remember the freaking title. Was it like Cartoon All Stars or something like that?
Cartoon All Stars, like maybe I think it could have been To the Rescue or something, but it was a project that was funded, oddly enough, by McDonald's.
Was it? Well, it opened with Ronald and Nancy Reagan too, though, right? Wasn't it part of
Yes, it opened up with them like sitting in the Oval Office or somewhere. I don't remember. And they give a quick thing about you don't want to do drugs, and then the show starts.
Yeah, and I just remember running this all the time at Blockbuster, not for that message, but just because Michelangelo, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Winnie the Pooh,
Alf,
Slimer,
yeah, like
Garfield.
Everybody was in it.
Yeah,
that was a big deal. And there was like it had to be the president stepped up, or and said to all like Disney and Warner Brothers, like, we gotta have all these characters if we're gonna make this like an impact. Like you can't have Bugs Bunny but not Mickey Mouse if you're gonna really do this. And it actually reminds me, because it's still held true. Because when that special came out, it was 1990. The rule of Who Framed Roger Rabbit was still true, which was, for anybody who doesn't know, Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck and Daffy Duck, who are all in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, had to have the exact same runtime, like screen time that they were on. Neither would that was it. Like they had to be the same exact. That's why you had Mickey and Bugs coming down at the same time skydiving. Then you had Donald and Daffy playing it together. It's because they could get away with it and have essentially these huge stars. That was the same for this one, but not for everything. So like there are some that could be on there longer or shorter and stuff like. But they had to be used, and I don't even think Mickey was used in this.
No, not in the one I remember. I think there was another one that wasn't quite as popular. I feel like that I read that somewhere, but there was no Mickey in that initial one, the most popular one.
Well, they did was they had the I think they had DuckTales. It might have been Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but I don't know if all of them were in it or not.
I can't remember.
There's a
I think
lot.
it was
I just remember, like, I never walked away from that special being like, man, drugs are not for me. I'm staying away from drugs. I walked away from that special being like, it could have really used some more Michelangelo.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Why are you showing the ones we really want to see?
Yeah, really.
I will tell you a lot of those drug episodes from back in the day, because I just didn't do drugs. I got into drinking, young and stuff because I'm Irish. You got to just jump in, but it was the drugs. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I know too many people who are doing it, and too many of my favorite celebrities have told me it's really bad, even though they were probably doing all of it.
Oh yeah.
at all times. I was like, I'm not going to get into it. And I remember when it became legal here in Virginia, I was like, I'm in. Weed all the way. Let's do this. Not a gateway drug. I learned my lessons. I was like, I'm going all in. Whatever, it's legal. But I think about back then, and I'm just like, how insane it was that most of the things that you saw that were being represented in these shows was weed.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like pill. Like, I mean, Jesse, of course, but whatever. Have fun, Jesse. Should have been Coke. You should have been doing rails off that Bayside bathroom, but whatever.
Jesse
When
has
it
a
was
crack
weed,
pipe.
though, when it was weed, though, in the show, it was usually all you'd ever see was like just a super small, twisted up piece of paper. You never really
Yeah.
saw anyone
Yeah.
smoke it or anything, or
Well, okay,
even
except
know
for
that
that,
they were stoned.
there was that PSA in the late 80s, early 90s that showed a lot more than just a twisted thing. I mean, it didn't show someone smoking it, but remember the commercial where the kid's sitting on his bed, rocking out with his headphones on, and his weird looking dad comes in. Yeah.
That one.
Here's
Yeah.
what
Oh, yeah.
you-
And he like holds that box open and goes, "Tell me, where did you get this stuff?" And there's all kinds of little treats in that
Yeah.
box, man.
I'll tell you, we went back and we're talking about the 70s. Like one that really stuck out to me too. And it's so crazy that it's not as prevalent in a lot of these discussions, especially when we're dealing with teenagers. Abortion. And Maude, I remember, dealt with that when she got pregnant.
Really?
Yeah, and that was a long time ago, and to have that
Yeah.
kind of deal with that was a big deal. But you
It's
don't
weird
really-
seeing some of those old 70s shows that have that kind of stuff in there, because you're like, really, they went there back then? Because
Yeah.
it was so unheard of. I mean, most of the time you didn't hear about it on shows in the 80s to hear it was on in the 70s. So
Yeah.
Yeah, even like All in the Family. Edith had her birthday party where there was a surprise party, and before she went over, a salesman came to the door, and then it was an attempt of rape. She got out.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just like that's insane. Like the same. I'm telling you, we talk about the 80s and 90s and how they just did them different. Then you go back to the 70s, and it was like, oh my god, this is a lawless jungle that's just ready to touch down on everything.
This
And
is like
wasn't
pre-code crap.
Wasn't there a sequel to All in the Family where it was just Archie?
Archie's Place, yeah. After
No.
Gene Stapleton left the show.
Didn't that follow Edith's death?
Yeah, she wanted to leave the show, and I don't know why I know all this, but she wanted to leave the show. You know what it is? I'm really obsessed with characters.
Oh, that's
And
okay.
of
Sorry, I
famous
was
shows.
confused. I didn't realize that was her name.
Oh yeah. And she left because she wanted to like start doing Broadway again, and so like they just revamped the show, and it just became Archie's Place, and he owned a bar, and he started doing that.
I watched I don't know if it was the first episode of Archie's Place or what it was. I think it must have been where he's just alone, realizing that she's gone, he's alone, and that, thinking back to all the times he was just an insufferable ass to her, and like, man, I hope you know I really loved you. It was really sad. Even when you watch it today, it like really pulls some tears, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, things like that always like kind of weirded me out in a lot of ways, in terms of you think about death on shows and how they deal with the grieving process. And now I understand times were different back then, and men were men, and that's how it was. You either were John Wayne or you were pussy, for lack of a better term. But you go back and you watch a lot of these shows that dealt with death in like the family or a friend or something, or even if it was just a one-off, like my aunt died and now we got to deal with it. It always astounded me how quickly by the end of the episode everybody was okay.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen shows where like, and actually Alex Keaton on Family Ties did a really great episode. It was a very special episode where his friend died in a car crash. There was no drinking. There was no drink.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they did the whole. So like he's dealing with the guilt because he was supposed to be with them,
Yes.
but he was too busy, and he kind of like kept blowing his friend off. And again, it was just a freak accident where he died, and the next two episodes were him dealing with it. Like the psychologist that he's talking to is a voiceover. And as he's talking to him, asking him questions and really getting in depth about mental health. Like I rewatched that after I had a friend pass away a few years ago, and I rewatched it after that just by happenstance, and I was like, wow, they're really dealing with grief and the whole aspect of like what mental health is and how to deal with things,
Right.
which you didn't do in the 80s. People don't
No.
want to talk about that stuff.
Is that the one where it was done kind of like a stage play where the
Yes.
lights would come down and it would be a spot? Yes, that
Yeah.
episode was so good.
That one does not get talked about enough, and it was a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
That show had a lot of heavy moments, period. Like when the dad had the heart attack, that was scary as hell.
Yeah.
And then didn't the creepy uncle kiss the daughter? I can't remember exactly the details. I saw that come up today when I was kind of looking around online. We're still talking about Family Ties, right?
Yeah. I don't remember that episode. I remember the drinking. Tom Hanks played Elise's brother, who was the mom on the show. And in the first episode he was ever on, because he was on like 4 or 5 episodes, but the first episode he was ever on, he had a drinking problem. Like he was drinking vanilla extract at one point. That's how bad it was. Like it was very.
Wow. I think I remember that one. Yeah.
It was a very exaggerated alcoholism, but like he just showed up and he started drinking everything he could, and he was hammering trying to get Alex to drink with him. And it's just like you watch it, it's like, yeah, it's very exaggerated. He's playing it very funny, but it was really interesting to see how they dealt with it. And even seeing Tom Hanks that early on, pre-Splash and all those big things.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah, I don't even think he had bosom buddies yet when he was on there.
Probably
And
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he and at the end when he's really like distraught and he realizes he's lost like everything. This is his like before rock bottom point, and he hit Alex, and that was his rock bottom. Like he really played a really good dramatic role in that.
Sure. I'd have to watch that. I haven't seen that in years.
One of the
Go ahead. No, sorry, buddy.
I was just gonna say one of the heavy moments that always kind of stuck with me was when Will Smith got shot on Fresh Prince, like that whole like robbery scene, and then Carlton like freaked out and got a gun, and I think there was like 2 or 3 episodes after that where Will was in recovery and like everybody was dealing with that. So similar thing.
There's another really hard-hitting Will Smith moment where his hand went straight across Chris Rock's face. That hit hard. That hit real hard.
Yeah.
Not as hard as his wife hit him on Red Table Talk. He saw that show was canceled, and he's like, "Thank God, they need me again. I'm doing Bad Boys 4." Chris, you bring up a good point here. I have several retired military friends who want to move here for THC for their PTSD. It's real. Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, military. I mean, that was what was it? MASH. Who died at the crap?
The colonel died. The first colonel died when he left, because he left the show and they killed off his character. Was shot. His helicopter was shot down.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
They dealt with that really well. And MASH was really good for, and actually, I'll say MASH and Cheers were both really good shows for continuing things that happened in a previous episode.
Right.
And not just to be continued, but like 5 episodes down the line, they're still dealing with Coach dying, you know?
Yeah.
So, but the last episode of MASH, where you have Hawkeye dealing with his guilt and his grief of making it home, was beautifully done. Beautifully done. I love that. That was a great episode. You know.
Do you guys remember news radio in the 90s?
Yes. I think I know which one you're going to go with. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Phil Hartman was a regular on that show, and after he was murdered, that next week they came back, and they were all in character, I guess, and they were just doing kind of a clip show of his best moments, but they were tore up. Like, it was so heart-wrenching, because I mean, everyone loved Phil Hartman aside from that show. He was a national treasure. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
That was rough, but you could see that they were just obviously beside themselves.
Actually, if you remember, John Lovitz joined.
Yes. I was trying to sit here and remember who joined, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, John Lovitz joined, and they were good friends before they were on SNL together. They did Groundlings together out in LA, and supposedly Phil Hartman was the type of guy who just liked doing Groundlings, but he did so many things He did artwork for a lot of albums, especially Alabama albums, stuff like that. Like
Really?
he just had his hands in everything.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's all he wanted. He just wanted to do his comedy. He just wanted to do Groundlings. Like SNL had been trying to bring him on for so long, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good. I just like doing this," And he did like 9 years before he even went to SNL with John Lovitz.
Wow.
Well, I guess he wrote. It was either for Groundlings or something else. He wrote a recommendation, I think, for SNL for John Lovitz to join.
Oh wow.
Huh.
And that letter that they read is the letter that Phil Hartman wrote. John Lovitz had it read on, as a tribute to him because he wrote it. And yeah, if you watch that scene again, like look at John Lovitz's face.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. Somebody told me that years ago who worked on the show. And it's just an interesting turn. And like, I love when they add little stuff like that to these shows and stuff.
Right. Wasn't not Seth Rogen, Jesus, Joe Rogan. No,
He
Joe
played the
Rogan.
technician, that put everything together. Like he was like the engineer guy for the radio.
Yeah. And was Andy Dick in that one too?
Yeah, unfortunately. Super problematic Andy Dick.
Isn't that the truth? Wow.
Yeah, no, he was in it, and just like shows like that, and like I think about all these very special episodes and the things you learn. Those were like the lessons for us, I think.
Yeah.
Dealing like like you said, like a great point was like the racism. Like you're a kid, you're not born racist. Like you have to learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I feel like for me anyway, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, like I learned about it by watching shows like that because it wasn't prevalent in my life. So
yep,
exactly.
I learned about it watching it, and it just it hits hard for sure.
Yeah. It was hard to believe that kind of stuff was happening out there. Yeah.
Well,
then you go see it in real life, and you're like, "Wow, TV is real, kind of."
The cherry on the cupcake.
It's almost like these writers know about life. So we should pay them, Hollywood.
There you go. Yeah.
I've got a couple. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to say I've got a couple quick more picks if we have time.
We have all the time you want.
Okay. First being, and this one kind of irritates me because I had always thought it was just something that Brooke and I remembered. I'd never heard anyone talk about it, and then within the past few years, you start seeing little memes about it. Pissed me off, but at the same time, I was happy that we weren't alone in remembering it. Was did you guys watch Punky Brewster?
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the refrigerator episode?
It's the refrigerator episode, man. That was horrifying.
Yeah.
That was horrifying watching that as a child. Like you were watching this kid die in front of you for the most part. So I think that, I mean, not that I ever like had an urge to get in a refrigerator, but
that
every
episode
time
kept
I
me
open
from ever getting in one.
Or any kind of even closets, like it freaked me out. Like I think it's partly responsible for claustrophobia.
Dude, I remember, and it's funny you mentioned that too. Like, cause I remember that episode, and I never stepped in I was like, nope, I'm
not
good.
Going in that refrigerator. Thank you, Punky.
Even when Indy showed up in that god awful crystal skull and jumped in one, I was like, what are you doing, Indy? Just take the bomb. You'll die in there.
Didn't you watch Punky Brewster?
And that fridge that Indy was in latches when it closes too, so there's no getting out of that one.
Well, so did Cherries. That's why she couldn't get out, right?
That's
They hit you. Yeah, man. They get you with that and like all those different ways. And like dealing with suicide and stuff. Like I learned so much about it then that really just shocked you at points. Like the Bicycle Man episode, I remember watching that young from Different Strokes where the bicycle shop owner was diddling kids, for lack of a better term, on this show that we're doing. And it didn't resonate with me. It was when I watched a movie. It came out like 88 or 89. It was like, I know my first name is Steven. And it was about this kid who got kidnapped and taken in by a child molester. And it was a true story. I watched this movie by myself. And I was like, this is horrifying. I never want this to happen. I would like run away from cars if they were slowing down by me. I was like, nobody's going to kidnap me. And it's stuff like that, which is good, and we should know it as kids, and we should be able to, talk to our kids about it. But it's stuff like that like, just once I saw that and I was like, this horror actually exists in the world. Wait a second. And then I started thinking about the Bicycle Man. And I'm like, what was he doing? And I went right back to it. I'm like, I've known about this too long.
It's funny you say that. Like you'd always get scared when a car would slow down next to you. When I was very young, I was almost abducted. And I thought this was a false memory, but my mother reassured me that, no, that actually happened. We lived way out in the country, and I was playing in the driveway with some like toy trucks, and you know how you dig holes and then, put the dirt in the truck and, play construction or whatever. And I was out there by myself. Mom was in the house there cleaning, and a car pulled right up in front of our house and stopped on the road. One guy stayed in the driver's seat, and the other guy got out, looked both ways, walked around the car, and his eyes were on me. He was walking toward me, headed toward me. And he got about halfway up the driveway, and Mom came busting out the door, yelling and screaming at him. And he took off running and jumped in the car, and they sped off. And at the time, I was so young, I didn't realize what was happening. But as I got older, I was like, did that shit really happen? Because,
holy shit.
Yeah, it dawns on you like, oh, that's what was happening, I think.
Oh,
so it was no question. It was no wonder my mother was so overly protective the rest of my growing up.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the kids will go outside and play in the yard, and I'm like, out the window. I'm like, I know I have to give them like freedom, but
you've got every reason to be concerned. Yeah. This world's nuts.
Yeah,
very special episodes keep showing us that.
Yeah, that was my contribution to this very special episode of the Scene Snobs.
How about you guys? You got Randy? I know you got some. Jack, I know you got some. Let's finish off strong. Let's hear some stuff you really learned from the very special episodes.
I can't think of any other ones that other than that Growing Pains one, man. That one has always stuck. Like as soon as I read the topic for the show, I was just like, boom, that one stuck in my head big time.
I've got another one.
What you got?
Unless Randy here.
Go ahead, man.
This wasn't a very special episode, but it's a valuable lesson I learned on Seinfeld. And that would be the double dip episode. Because it's something I have never thought about.
Yeah.
Until I saw that. And I'm like, holy shit, you really are putting your whole mouth in the dip if you do that.
You really are.
That idea and that lesson festered so much in my brain that it's like gone to like any type of communal, like potluck or food kind of things. I'm very selective. Like if they bring in pizza at a workplace or something, I better be one of the first people there, or I'm not having pizza. You know what I mean? I don't know who's been over it. I don't know who's touched it. I think it all stems from the double dip episode.
My mom actually taught me that lesson before I saw the Seinfeld episode, but I always thought it was, oh, come on, Mom, really? And then I saw the episode, and then the light came on and was like,
TV says it must be
TV
real.
is real. Yeah. And now I live my life by that.
Yeah, you have.
It's smart. Yeah, especially after 2020. I mean, come on, we have to.
Yeah, really.
Like, we're learning our lessons. You eat it through the mask. But you sit there and you watch these things, and something like that is really smart. Because you don't think about those things, but that's the most. Seinfeld was good for those subtle, like, don't be an ass, don't double dip, or get another bowl and have your own. Sort of thing. Like, go, like put a little bit in for yourself, and then there you go. You can do whatever the hell you want. Which actually, you know what? Listen, assholes, if you're putting together a party, and not you guys, just the assholes out there, if you're putting together a party, you need to get little bowls for us to put the dip in. Come on, it's 2023. Get with it.
How about having the dip like in some kind of like a chocolate fountain thing where you can just hold your chip under the dip and get it like that. But then they'd have that big sneeze shield around it. It'd be a pain in the ass. It's like you can't win when it comes to dip.
You'd have to come in at certain angles to get through the shield, the sneeze shield.
Hold your chip with tongs and hold it in there.
Listen, germs be damned. If I can get back into a Wendy's taco bar or a Sizzler, screw you, or Ponderosa. Yeah, Ponderosa was great.
Oh, I think
Oh.
Ponderosa's all extinct, right?
Oh yeah, they're all
out
gone.
here. Yeah.
There's still one in Marion, isn't there?
No, that only lasted maybe 6 months. I think it wasn't around very long at all.
All right.
There was years ago. Brooke and I were in. I think we were in like Goshen, Indiana, and we were driving down the road on our way back home, and passed a Ponderosa, and we both looked at each other and U-turned immediately, like we're going back. We got to see what this is about. And I know it might come as a surprise. It wasn't good.
It never ends good, but I mean, it starts out that way.
When
You're
you
like,
were a
"Come
kid,
on."
though, Ponderosa was awesome. I loved going to Ponderosa. That salad bar was awesome.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I miss some of those days. Like I know in my brain that like the buffet style Pizza Huts and things like that, they were great. But I know in my brain that like that should not have survived, and I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah.
True.
Guys, I want to say this has been a very special episode of the Scene Snobs, and I appreciate you guys for being on it. And before we kind of close out a little bit, and I say our goodbyes, I want to talk about Canned Air Podcast a little bit more. Where can everybody find it? Tell us a little bit more. What do you got going on? Anything new coming out, or that you want to talk about?
As far as where we can be found, our hub is cannedairpodcast.com, but we can be found on any podcast player that's out there. Anywhere you might listen to a podcast, we are there. So you can find us. What else? As far as what we've got coming up, we have a new studio space we're working with, so we're adjusting, moving, trying to get everything to where we're recording in that studio all the time. A lot of little things that need minor adjustments, but we're getting there. We have TorgCon coming up in November, which we're going to be a part of again, help host, and we had a great time the last few years we've done it, and cannot wait for this year. What am I forgetting? Did I answer your questions, Mick?
Yeah, I mean that's great for me. Anything you guys want to
What did you
add
say,
to it?
Randy?
I was going to say we're very quickly approaching episode 500, so
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
kind of a big thing.
Well,
Yeah,
like
we're
fall
approaching-
time, I think.
Huh?
It'll be like in the fall, 500 coming up.
Something like
Somewhere.
that. But they're happening. The 500th episode and our 10-year anniversary episode, 10-year anniversary are happening so close together that I think we're just going to celebrate the 10 years in the 500th episode, kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Fair
That's
enough.
awesome. I love
But
that.
yeah, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to fall. I could sit down and do
Never-
some math, but I'm not going to.
We'll
What?
be double dipping that time with the 10-year and 500.
You have no idea, Jack.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you go check it out. It is linked down below. You can go check out the link there. Go check out their show. You guys have a great show. It's a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun. I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this with me. Hopefully you had some fun.
Oh, yeah.
A blast.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's one thing I want to try and start incorporating, especially with guests coming on? Let's do it with podcasting because you guys are so prevalent and you've been doing it for such a long time. I remember when you were celebrating 7 years. So
Yeah.
like when you said 10, I'm like, wow, has it been 3 years already? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's
Where does
amazing.
time go?
It goes. That is for sure. But I love it, and I appreciate you guys not just coming on here, but like you guys are very vocal and helpful with a lot of stuff in doing this. I would love for you guys each to maybe give some advice to anybody who has a podcast starting off, like that you think takeaways that they should probably have.
I mean, I've said it a million times before, and I'll say it again. It's just being persistent. Knowing that you want to do this, you have to know you're going to have days you want to quit. You're going to have, Christ, I had one a few weeks ago. Like this far in, I was like, I'm done with this shit. I'm just done. But you got to stick with it, and it always comes back around. Power through the bad times and celebrate the good ones when they happen. It's just the nature of the beast. You're never going to have a podcast that is all rainbows and sunshine. It's just not going to happen.
How about you guys, Jack? Randy, you want to add anything?
I'd say stay away from news, I guess, if you're going to start a podcast, because you're not going to be the first one. You're always going to be the last if you're just starting out. So you're not going to have, you're not going to be the first word.
Sure.
Well, that, and we've learned and been told through people who have mentored us, and I guess a way over the years, that it dates the show, which is why
Yeah,
we
that
quit
too.
doing it. People aren't going to want to check in on a 5-year-old episode to see who's just been cast in the X-Men Apocalypse. No one cares at this point.
Yeah.
So that's a valid piece of advice. But unless you just want to do the news, I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I don't think Jack is either with doing a news show.
No.
I mean, if that's your prerogative, then by all means, have at it. But if you're looking for longevity, I don't think it's the way to go.
Yeah, very
So,
Oh, go ahead, Randy.
so for me, it's don't judge your growth by anybody else's. Just have fun with it, learn your craft, find 2 really good co-hosts that put up with your shit, and just try and be better than you were the last episode.
Is that what
Did
we're
you?
doing?
Depends on the day, Jer.
Guys, this has been amazing. That's great advice. And I honestly, you guys have given me some great advice as we've been going on and stuff, and I always appreciate it.
Vice versa, man. You've been doing this longer than we have. You've got a great show. You were. I don't know anyone else who's as knowledgeable at podcasting than Mick Manhattan, to be honest.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that. I definitely don't know. I am I try to follow the steps. I try to do it right, but I'm very much okay. My ass is on fire. It's time to put it out. How do we do this?
Well, again, nature of the beast, man. Nature of the beast. But I mean, truthfully, you've been at this way longer than we have, and on top of that, you've been in other avenues of the entertainment business. You know what you're doing, son.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. It very much means a lot. I look up to you guys. So, being able to do this with you guys and have you on, and anytime you're always willing, I will always have any one of you guys on, or all of you at the same time.
It sounds like it's going to be a beautiful marriage.
There you go. And guys, you can make sure to go check out the Canned Air podcast. It is a fantastic show. I cannot gush over it enough, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop for now.
Don't let us stop you, Mick. Go right ahead.
I'll gush again at the end. But I want to say thank you guys so much for jumping on with me tonight and hanging out.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mick.
Mick.
It's always a pleasure hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Take care, guys. And
Thank you.
guys, have a good one. I'm
too.
so bad at saying goodbye to people.
Bye.
It's even
Take
worse in
care,
Ohio, man. It takes 20 minutes.
Yeah, serious.
Shall I walk you to the car now, Mick?
We'll pop back on at 5 and say bye again.
Sounds good. I'll make sure to bring Randy back in. Bye, guys.
See ya.
That was so much fun, guys. I love talking to the guys from Canned Air. They're so much fun. And they really do have a great show. Hopefully you guys go check it out. If you don't, you're missing out. That's really what it comes down to. All right, so let's get into it. We got some people here. Chris is still hanging out with us. Thought he was going to say Costanza. Yeah, I did learn about shrinkage on that show. That is 100% true. And Mick used to strip too. It's true, but not for money. Just probably to get out of situations is really what it came down to. That's why I stripped. But for you guys watching, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna let's do an AMA. I wanted to open this up a little bit more because actually I did one last week, and resoundingly, I got a lot of people who sort of reached out to me and were asking questions and things like that, and said that I should probably kind of incorporate it. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. If you have any questions you want to know about or anything, I will do whatever I can to answer it, sound off. And as we kind of get prepared and stuff like that, we're going to talk about our Did I Fix It? I picked Cocktail. That's right. Well, I didn't pick Cocktail. Dan, the Man Master Shake, picked Cocktail when we were talking about it because he's going to be a guest on one of our horror conversations episodes this year, where we are going to go off and we're going to talk about we have a lot of fun stuff planned. We're going to talk about on 2 different episodes some fun horror things that are going on, and it's all brought to you by Carolina Fear Fest, who you guys know are one of our biggest supporters. We work with them. We represent the show when we're there. We do live streaming for them, panels, everything and more. It's a great time. It's every Memorial Day weekend. We're going to be doing that. So please jump on in. Let's have a good time with it. But all right, let me fix Cocktail from 1988, starring Tom Cruise, Brian Brown, Elizabeth Shue. There's Kelly Lynch was in it. There's a lot of people in this movie. So basically what it takes place Tom Cruise is going around New York City. He's looking for a job. He gets a job as a bartender. Now, he's never bartended before. He's new to it. He's coming in and he's really trying to hone the craft. And he gets picked up and mentored by Brian Brown's character, who you might remember from the FX movies from the 80s, fun little adventure movies. And you have a good time with. Well, he learns the craft. They're doing great. They're making tons of money. They have this whole plan to kind of go off and start their own bar and do their own thing and be bartenders and make tons of money down in, like, I think it was in Jamaica or something. They were looking for resort jobs down there or to buy their own resort or something like that. So the problem with this movie, it's a fun movie. You get into it. It's a really fun movie. And it's not badly written or anything. It's very well acted for the 80s. The problem is it's so insane and absurd what we're getting into. So it's about bartenders, essentially. And now, listen, you can tell a lot of dramatic stories that take place in a bar. You can tell a lot of dramatic stories that bartenders go through. But it always seems to me like when you know, like Cheers did it perfectly in a very great comedic twist. But it always seems like whenever you start putting a movie that takes place in a bar back in the 80s, everybody knows martial arts and it's crazy, or it's a murder mystery. This is basically what happens. Basically how it goes down in Cocktail. Cocktail, its biggest problem is it didn't know fully what it wanted to be. And I think that's where it suffered the most. It really needed to kind of hone in on what it wanted. So, like, you have a murder mystery going on. You have betrayal between friends and sleeping with the other's lover. You have an unexpected love interest step in and she gets pregnant and he has to make the decision. Does he want to still live in Jamaica and do this? Or is he going to go do the right thing and be with a woman? It's a pretty crazy, convoluted type of story. And I think that's how you fix it. Every aspect of the story is interesting, but you don't spend enough time on each aspect. You know, what happens with Brian Brown's character? What happens with the murder that happened on the boat? Yes, that is a thing. What happens with the betrayal of sleeping with each other's, betraying each other and sleeping with each other's lovers and stuff like that? And what happens with Elizabeth Shue and Tom Cruise's relationship, where she gets pregnant? She comes from a very wealthy family. They want him to have nothing to do with it, wants him to just go back down to Jamaica. We'll give you some money. And now he's got to deal with that. But it elongates this movie because it all happens at different points. Now, if you're telling the story of this guy's entire life bartending and you want to tell some crazy stories, there's better ways to do it than the way they do it here. Each thing acts like it's a domino knocking the next one over, but it feels like there's so many dominoes in between that don't fit in that bill or just weren't put down. So it's kind of like, what is happening? You know, you come to a halt on one and then it goes to here and it goes to here. You need to cut back on that. I think Cocktail would have been a really great story if you started out with these two guys who are bartending. They love it. One's mentoring the other. They're becoming great. They're becoming hot shots all over town. They're bartending in the biggest nightclubs and bars. And then you turn around and it comes back to all the little, extra parts that they put in. Like, I would have preferred, maybe they're doing this, they're hot shots, they're so close to buying the bar. They're getting ready. They're going to do it. He sleeps with Tom Cruise's girlfriend. Cut out the murder mystery aspect of it and where that all goes. He sleeps with Tom Cruise's girlfriend. Don't even introduce Elizabeth Shue like they didn't until he was in Jamaica. This causes him to quit it all behind because he's a hothead, goes down to Jamaica, decides to start bartending at this resort, and then you can continue on with the having the baby line, stuff like that. And then maybe have them come back together in the end, start the bar together and stuff like that in a more reduced capacity. Because I think if you keep expanding on all this stuff and throwing in a wrench here, a wrench there, oh, this person, this turmoil, it just took too much away. I could say the same thing for like Studio 54. Studio 54 was also a very convoluted movie that told a lot of great stories, but it seemed like all of the great stories from Studio 54 they were trying to shoehorn into this movie. Now, going back to Cocktail, here's a story where you don't have a base like that, and I'm not comparing the two, trust me. But what I'm saying is, you don't have that base with this. You have to deal with it as a, you have to deal with what's ahead of you. Don't add more on. And that's just what they kept doing. So really, I don't think there's much to fix in Cocktail. I think you remove some certain aspects of it. And then you just stick to like a certain storyline. If you want it to be about the friends and the betrayal that happens, don't have him have this pregnancy come up where he has to deal with that. Make it about the friends. If you want that to be it, introduce her much earlier as a love interest. Maybe she goes away. He gets betrayed by his friend, goes down to Jamaica. She follows him down there as a resort, gets pregnant, realizes she can't be with him because he's just a bartender or whatever. Then you can add that because now you have that element in there. But they just didn't do it, and it really like flaked for me on that. So yeah, I think if you're going to fix this at all, you make it a fun movie the way it was, where it's just in the bar and they're having a great time. Then you add those little bits of drama, but don't add too much, which is what they did. And I think that's what really took away from the movie. Hopefully you guys think I fixed it. If you did sound off in the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear about it, or head over to our Discord. Check us out there. All the links are down below in the description if you're listening or you're watching. I want to say thank you guys for watching. And just really, let me know if you have any movies that you would like to see me fix. My only thing for it is it's got to be a studio movie. It's got to be an older movie. I'm going to go, let's stick with 10 years older or more now. Let's stick with that. So like, if you guys want to throw it at me, patrons get preferential treatment. Of course, if you send me anything, I will make sure your movie goes up first. So please just send me a message. Let me know what you think. All right. Well, let's get into it a little bit more. Jason's here. What's up, buddy? How are you? Yeah, we had a little bit of an earlier episode. The guys from Canned Air, I really wanted to have them on, and they couldn't do 9 o'clock. They had something going on. So, or something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but so I want to do a special time. I also want to talk to you now that it's let's give a little history first before we get there. So when I started this, Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock was always our recording time. It was just our time slot. That's what I picked, and that's what I was doing. And I really wanted to do lives. The first few episodes, I think it was like the first month we didn't do lives. And then November I started getting more into lives, but I think it was on Discord and a couple other things, but wasn't on YouTube yet. So, or we were putting them up on YouTube after the fact. We've had a YouTube for a long time. So for me, I was stuck by 9 o'clock. Then, when Casey was on, as a co-host, 9 o'clock worked for him really well. I've been mulling over the idea of maybe moving the show to a 7:30 range. I maybe 7 because Sturdy's on at 8, and I really don't want to overlap him at all. And if you don't know him, Harvester Sturdy, go check out his show. Absolutely love it. He's fantastic. He's a great guy. You should definitely go check him out. So he's on at 8 for his show. So like I try not to overlap on that. But if you guys are interested, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think maybe a 7 o'clock start time would be better? And if it is, I might start doing that. It gives me more time. I can start, putting the kids to bed, stuff like that, which I do beforehand, but they're usually awake still when I come down and do it at 9. So 7 o'clock, that's up in the air right now. I would love to hear what you guys think. But, Sturdy is all right. No, Sturdy's great. 3 Geeks is great too. You guys are awesome as well. All shows have been around a long time, and should be celebrated for sure. These are podcasters who really love the craft, and they know and do their stuff really well. So let's get into it. I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I know I haven't always been the good one at saying goodbye. I haven't always been the good one for signing out. Before I do want to let you know that Entertainment Earth is a affiliate sponsor for us. If you go down to our link tree or you go down in the descriptions, we have links for them. If you guys are collectors, anything like really the figures, the Funko Pops, different stuff all around, go check out Entertainment Earth. That's where I buy a lot of my stuff. Kind of goes behind me. That's where I got this Joker right here. And a couple other figures that you will see going up soon. Go check them out. If there's something that you want, please use our link down below. It's also, like I said, on our link tree, which you can find on our website or wherever else. We really appreciate it. It helps us a long way, helps keeps the lights on. And if you guys are also interested, go check out our Patreon. we'd appreciate you guys being a part of it. We have an exclusive show that you can go watch over there called Warp Factor Fiction. It's a Star Trek rewatch show, and we're having a really good time with it. And we're getting into season 3. We're doing it in chronological order all throughout the Star Trek franchise. And we're doing chronological order right now. So we're going on Enterprise season 3. Can't wait for it. Hope you guys will check it out this month. But yeah, that's over on and that's also in podcast format. And that will be the podcast will be a month exclusively on Patreon. And then after that, it will be available and you can check it out. But yeah, Patreon's reign supreme. So there's so many perks that you're going to have to do. Chris says, I work nights, so I'm cool with whatever time. I love it. I appreciate you, man. Yeah. So I just, doing this show is absolutely one of my favorite things. I love it. This is my passion. I started out in the film industry, as some of you may know. I worked very hard to get into producing. And I loved it. It's something I wanted to do. And I talked about it in the last episode, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But when I found this, I absolutely fell in love with this. And I know I talked about this in the past too. So again, not going to dwell on it. But my point with this is, I'm seeing a lot of things changing in the industry, and it's changing for the good. It seems we're kind of, these shows are sort of coming down into a better, more recognizable sort of an industry. I would love to see the push towards an industry really happen. But yeah, ultimately doing this and being a part of this is one of my very favorite things. And I wanted to show some gratitude, and by saying that, I want to say thank you for watching and listening. It really means so much to us. Even sometimes I'll get really critical comments of what I'm doing, and or people reach out to me, and not bad. They're criticizing, and that's okay. Constructive criticism, and I appreciate it. Hey, I didn't like when you did this, right? I always appreciate that stuff, and I always appreciate the very good tidings and things like that as well. So I absolutely appreciate you guys. I hate to ask for anything. I really do. It bothers me. It's like I have a twitch running up the back of my neck right now because I know I'm going to ask you guys for something. I would really appreciate it if you're watching or listening. I would love for you guys to be a part of the Snobnation. If you join up in the Discord or whatever, Facebook group, the whole nine. We'd love to have you. It's just, that's what we're trying to build here as a community. But to keep this going, the ratings, reviews, the follows, it really means a lot to us. So if you guys are on different things, if you have iTunes, please rate and review us. That really helps us go a long way. If you are on Spotify, we would love a follow. We would love for you, even if you want to make a review or something, but a follow would just be truly fantastic. We're on everything, so you can find us in some capacity somewhere. And maybe spread the word a little bit. If you like the show and you think people who might like it, please share it with them. Let them know. And really want to try and build the word out and get it out there. So I'm not going to ask you for much more. I appreciate anything you do for us. Thank you. I'm Mick Manhattan, Scene Snob. This is one of my favorite things to do, spend time with you. I have not picked out when we'll be doing time changes, but I might try again next week doing the show at 7 p.m. I'm also finding it's a lot easier to get people on the lives when it's around 7. So if you guys are watching and listening, please keep that in mind. Head over to another favor. Please head over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe and hit like and stuff. But definitely subscribe because I think you really like this stuff. We have a very special episode coming out on Thursday. 2, actually. I will be having a full live review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I will be doing a Star Wars Day special. It is May the 4th, and May the 4th be with you. And also with you. But no, we're going to do a Star Wars Day special. Hopefully you'll join in. I'm going to have a bunch of 5 takeaways as well, where we kind of cover one of those fun things in Star Wars that we really like. I'm not going to give anything away right now, but make sure to check out the YouTube for that. That's only a show you can find there. All right, guys, until next time, I'm Mick Manhattan. Scene Snob. Thank you guys so much for joining in, being a part of this, and supporting us in so many ways. You are truly fantastic, and I love and appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, take care and have a great night.